And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at Aftershock, San Francisco and Venice. Now I gotta say, people often come to me and say things to the effect of, hey, what's it like, living in Florida with all those hurricanes? And I'll tell you, I would much rather have something I can see coming a long ways away. The idea of an earthquake sounds horrific. This is not necessarily about earthquakes at all. This is about an earthquake. The big one came. It shattered San Francisco and Venice. And you have to fix these cities. And there still might be some aftershocks, which will scare people away. But you are here to rebuild up different areas. Here's how it plays. So you can play on either side of the board here. So this is one side here in the California area, and here we have a bunch of islands connected. Now this side here is for 2 to 4 players, and this side is for 4 or more players, which means if you're playing with 4 players, you can use either side. There's going to be a different deck of cards that's used per side. Other than that, all the pieces and things are the same. Each player is going to have a shield and a bunch of pieces of their color. Now the pieces, you have bridge pieces, you have these little dudes, these meeples, and then a house, which is essentially just 3 meeples. And then players are also going to have a board that shows the different areas here. So this matches the different areas on the map. You can see Richmond, Oakland, Hayward, etc. And then this one would be used for the other side. The game can take place over 3 rounds, and players at the beginning of each round are going to be given 8 cards. Well, you're always going to get a bridge card, but then you'll get some other cards here. And players are going to decide which of these they would like to buy. Players are going to start with some money, so they're going to, you have 15 million to start with, and you can see the cost of each card is in the top. So you're going to decide which ones to buy. What these cards are going to let you do is they're going to let you put this many people in the area listed on there. So let's say I'm taking this one. I might say, you know what, I'm going to take these 2 for San Francisco. That's 4. I would like to take this Aftershock. That's kind of something negative I can do to other people. So that's 6. I want the bridge. That's 10. That's it. I'm only buying those. The ones I don't buy, I put in front of me. And then in turn order, players can buy each other's cards. Each player has 3 tokens that they can use to buy other people's cards. When it's your turn, I can flip over this one to buy someone else's card for -2 million to -1 million, and you can use this one as many times as you want, but it's going to cost you an extra million. You can't buy your own cards, only other people's cards that they put in front of them. After that's done, if you have any cards left in front of you after everyone's done buying, you can take one of those into your hand for free. Players are then going to play all the cards, and they're going to put the meeples in the areas that it shows on those. The other cards, like Bridges, Aftershock, and Influence, those are going to be used a little bit later. Anybody who then played a bridge card is going to take their bridges and their people and decide where they're going to place them. This is all done simultaneously and secretly, and you'll reveal them and put them on the map. You have to have enough bridge pieces to complete an entire bridge, but if you do, you can place a bridge on one of the bridge spots on the board. You can see putting a bridge here would be much longer than that 2 length one I put there, and the other people are going to be placed in whatever spots you decided to put them in. Then you also have these aftershocks which are going to show up, and for those, players are going to basically roll a die for each aftershock. This is a 3-sided die, a 1, 2, or 3 here, and this is going to pick the number of people who are shocked and who escape. Now, if you have to escape it, and there's an adjoining land area you can get to, usually via bridge, you can run across that bridge and be safe. If there's nowhere to go to, then you go back to the player who had it. And so each player is going to decide to do that. You can move across somebody else's bridge, but you're going to have to pay them $1 million per bridge for each person that you move. So those meeples are considered to be shocked. Then we're going to see which areas score. Players are then going to decide which areas score by placing their 4 score markers on the areas that they want to score. Now, an area will only score if there are 2 or more score tokens on it. You can't put 2 on the same one. So you're going to have to talk to other players and say, hey, let's score Oakland. Come on, put one of your tokens in Oakland. The only exception to that is if you got one of these influence tokens from a card, that you can put in one of your areas to guarantee that that area will score. You can also pick that the most bridges will score. Each area is going to score based on majority. So here we see red has 3, so they would get 8 points. Green would get 6, white would get 4 up here. Green has 4, so green would get 6, red would get 5. Blue and white are tied, so we add them together, divide by 2, and they get points. Bridges would be for the most bridge pieces on the board if that one scores. But again, it doesn't matter how many people you have somewhere. If there's not enough score tokens, that area won't score at all. Then basically that's it. You get ready for the next round. Do it again. After 3 rounds, whoever has the most points is the winner. The components for the game are fine. The cards, they're not great works of art or anything, but they're just very functional. Each one shows you the meeples, very easy to see, shows you where on the map it is. So I found that to be very, like I said, very functional, decent cards. The wooden pieces are fine. I do think it's weird that the houses are almost smaller than the meeples, them being 3. That seemed weird. And the bridges don't necessarily fit on the spots here. It's almost like the pieces were made for a different game, but the shield tells you everything. I didn't mention there's a bunch of stuff that happens at the end of a round, like whoever's in last place gets a free Aftershock marker. You pass first player tokens. You split the money everyone spent between everybody. So there's a few things like that. That this is a decent shield. Overall, it's good, the components. Here's the first player marker. It just isn't very attractive. I don't know how to explain it. It's functional and works well. It just isn't a game that you look at and you're like, wow. So I would just say they're decent. So Aftershock itself sounds like all dramatic and exciting, and the game is not. Now, this game does things that I've seen before. You have a bunch of cards in your hand. You're going to play some of these cards, buy them yourself, and other people can buy the other ones from you, so you have to think about that. Some cards are more expensive than others. This card costs 6, but it's a pretty good card. This one costs 1, so I might as well buy it. But if I put it out in front of me, maybe someone will buy it, but then they'll use the -1 and not pay any money for it. So there's some interesting things going on there, and it has kind of an interesting economy. Also, the Aftershocks give you a little bit of a take that aspect to it, and chasing people away. Of course, if you build bridges, then you have more places to move to, so you might actually want to be chased away so you can go to a different area. And the more bridges you have built, what can people do to you? There's a lot of interesting ideas, but I would say at the end of the day, most of them felt fairly mundane. The most interesting part of the game to me is this board here. The bridge cards, which give you the extra people and the bridges, and you decide where they go, and then which places are going to score it all. I find that to be really interesting. That's a really interesting part of the game. The problem is those bridge cards are expensive, and there's not that many of them. So usually you're only putting a few people around the board. The scoring is always going to happen, so that's a little bit more interesting. I wish that this aspect had been worked into the game more. At the end of the day, Aftershock is fine. It's designed by Alan Moon and Bobby West. Alan Moon, best known for Ticket to Ride and many other games, and he delivered a solid design here. And Bobby, did a good job. They worked together, did a great job. It's just that I don't know that I'm that excited about playing the game. I think partially the cover makes it be like, what is going to happen? At the end of the day, it's area control. I like area control. I don't mind this game. It's fine. It just failed to really grab my attention. There was no hook. This was the closest thing to a hook, but I didn't feel like it was in the game and enough for me. So, I'll play it. Not a bad game, Aftershock, but one that I fear we may not be that excited about in a few years. Unless, of course, there is some major earthquake and then suddenly everyone wants to buy this game. But that would be a pretty... that's not something I would wish for at all. So, Aftershock, San Francisco, and Venice. Area control game. I'm Tom Vasel. We'll see you next time. Dice Tower Judgment. It's decent.